Hey everyone, thank you so much for calling in for the Sunday edition of Your Best Just Got Better. What I want to do is share with you a couple of the things that have been so influential to me. And in sharing that, hopefully you walk away with a couple of ideas that will work for you this week. The whole point of this episode is really to share with you some of the things that I suggest people consider doing as they get ready for the week ahead. Now, since a high school teacher, and this is going back a long time now, I had always spent the week working in my work. And starting in about 1997, 1998 maybe, it was really important for me to take a day off. And so Saturday, traditionally, historically, has really been my day to say, you know what, stop. I'm going to do as little work as I can. Let me set up some things during the week so that on Saturday I can go for a long bike ride. I can go for a long walk. I can read a book if I want. And what this means is that through Friday night into Sunday morning, I've been thinking, I've had things go through my mind, and I need to be able to put those into play. So one of the things that I'll share with you right now is when you're speaking productivity, there's really three different things that we're managing. We're managing the psychology, sociology, and technology of a productive day. So the first thing that you'll take a look at is the psychology. And that, for me, is to be thinking about how I work, what I do, how I plan, how I think through my thinking. Now, what winds up happening is as easy as it is for me to think about how I think, then I get on the phone with someone, I'm working with a client, I'm having a discussion with Jody. Now sociology kicks in. Because if you think one way and I think one way, if you work one way and I work one way, and those are different, we need to find ways to jump in and be much more compatible together. Okay, and then the third one is, of course, the technology of a productive day. So, what's the idea? What are we really going for here? And what I'm trying to do is share here that really there's four things that will come together in planning your productive week. The first one is to identify. And I'll share with you what I identify early on as what it is that's important to me. The second one is define. Actually dive in. And one of my mentors, Rao, he says, the really significant thing for me to be doing these days is to deepen my thinking. Spend time in that. Really dive into and consider what it is that needs my attention. Number three is to experiment. You know, Nike came out years ago with that saying, just do it, if you remember that from their advertising campaign that they still use today. And by the way, for some people, some of the time, for some of the things, just doing it works. For other people, other times, with other things, it actually causes a chasm between idea and action. And I'm trying to bring those two together. And a way that I bring those two together is, and that you read about this in the Womack report that I sent out last week. The Womack report was all about beating procrastination. And by the way, if you did not get a copy of that, email me and I'll turn around a copy to you right away. The fourth one here is to assess. And your assessment's going to come next Sunday. And that's where you're going to look back over on this presentation, what you did this week, and then to ask yourself, did what I needed to do get done? Did I move from point A to point B? Now, if you've been in one of my seminars, you know that I fall back on this example all the time. But when it comes to productivity, the real key is to see something that you'd never seen before. You know, for me, I remember to this day the first time that I ever saw the arrow in the FedEx logo. And by the way, I almost fell out of my chair. I mean, right there in a meeting, someone was talking about paradigm change, and they were talking about Gen X, Gen Y. They were discussing how it is that different people see the world differently than I do. And I wasn't quite understanding it until the presenter, she said, it's like the arrow in the FedEx logo. And sure enough, the way they designed this logo, the font system that they used, they put an arrow in the middle of the E and the X, in essence telling you our company brings things from point A to point B. What do you look at as you get ready for your week? What is it that gets your attention? And for some clients, it's a to-do list, it's a whiteboard, it's a printout of their calendar, it's a series of Post-its. whatever it is that you look at to get ready for the week, go ahead and get that. And if you're at home right now, think about bringing that into the office tomorrow. For me, one of the first things that I look at, and I have all of this available as soon as I start my Sunday evening prep session for the week, but one of the things I look at is the upcoming weekly calendar. Now you can see here I've got a lot of stuff planned through Monday through Friday, and there you see on that right-hand side, right? Saturday's a travel day, and I'm doing everything I can to pull the work, the thinking work that I need to be doing off to either side, because I need that break, I need that respite. Well, the other thing that you're going to notice here is up on top, I've got these independent items. I call those my MITs, my most important things. And if you've read the book or you've listened to any of the other podcasts, you know that I usually give myself 1 to 3 MITs for each day. I don't give myself more, because if I give myself more, then it becomes this crazy game of just simply moving things and moving things and moving things. So what you've got here is from Sunday to Friday, my MITs for each day. And you'll notice here I've got 2 or 3. By the way, quick note, my MITs generally are nouns. They're generally the bigger picture things that I need to think about, and then from there I grab the verbs of different size that are my tasks. Now your productive day, right? Tomorrow's Monday, or whatever day you're watching this, think about productivity tomorrow. It depends on these 4 factors. It depends on your time, your energy, your focus, and the ecosystem that you work in. So when you're thinking about time and time management, you have 96 15-minute blocks of time in a day. Your energy, are you a morning person? Are you an afternoon person? Do you need time alone, or do you need time with the group? And your focus, what is automatically getting your focus every day versus what are you going to have to remember to focus on tomorrow? And of course, the ecosystem that you work in. Now the way this works is actually backwards. Your ecosystem drives your focus moves your energy up or down, and the time you have is relative, right? The time you have to get things done is relative to how much energy you have at that particular time. Let me go through each one of these one at a time. The ecosystem you work in. Where do you do your best work, and when do you do your best work there? So good question to ask yourself. Have you ever gone into the office hour early, 90 minutes early? Have you ever gotten to work before anybody else got there just to get a few things done? Versus, have you ever stopped on your way to the office or on your way home so that you could stop at a coffee shop or stop at a bookstore or stop somewhere so that before you got engaged in that next thing you were going to get engaged in, you were able to do some thinking work? Here, real quick, here's a picture of me. I'm on the flight deck of a 767. This is an American Airlines jet. I got a conversation with the captain. You can tell he's the captain, by the way. He's got the 4 bars on his lapel there on his shoulder. At any rate, we were talking about the significance of how his ecosystem was set up to drive his focus to what he had to take a look at. And then we got into a conversation. I'm asking this of everybody these days. This is one of my research projects for 2012, is I'm asking people what they wish was auto-blurred. And if you just think about that for a moment, if you have a digital camera and you pull up that digital camera to take a photo of something, the auto focus on that camera is going to find what it thinks it should focus on. It's going to blur what it thinks you don't want to see. I would love for this technology to catch up to email inbox, meeting management. I mean, really, I'd love this technology to catch up to conversations I'm having with my family, friends, and spouse. During a conversation, what is it that we should just auto blur? Because it has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. Let's finish whatever it is that we're doing. Practically speaking, why is it that at 9:44 in the morning, when my system, my calendar, knows that I'm scheduled for a meeting at 10 a.m., why do I still get emails about things that I cannot or should not do anything about for the next 16 minutes? Energy and energy management. That email that comes in at 9:44 from a store, an online program, someone asking for a donation, a coworker seeing if I can meet with her later in the week. any one of those focus changers will raise or lower my energy. I have mental energy and physical energy. As a kid, I always heard that breakfast was the most important meal of the day. I didn't quite know why until more recently. But when you feed your stomach, you feed your brain. When you feed your brain, you can focus. When you can focus, you'll do better or different work wherever you are. Real quick, I want to give you an extra resource. To understand where you are at your best and how to set yourself up for your best, I did make a little website. It's got a video, it's got a couple of pictures, it's got some more information. This is the At My Best When activity. So if you go to womaccompany.com/AMBW, there you'll see a bunch of information about how to set yourself up to take most advantage of the time that you have. And speaking of time, you have 96 15-minute blocks of time in a day. Be ready for bonus time. Bonus time happens all the time. You get to a meeting early and someone else shows up late. You get to the airport on time and there's a delay. Oftentimes, I can't tell you how many times I've been in the air circling over Chicago O'Hare waiting for a runway to clear, and I'll get 15, 30, even 90 extra minutes. I call this bonus time. And in that bonus time, I want to make sure that I'm thinking as effectively as possible. Question for you. How do you think about what you think about? And I found over the years that there's really two different ways that people think. Some people think in terms of nouns. They think about the design of a project. They can visualize the outcome. They're really good at understanding the process that they're going to go through to get from point A to point B. And then there's other people who tend to think more in verb actions, tasks, what they delegated. Now, what you want to do is you just want to go review your to-do list, go review your inbox, go review your calendar. And you'll find very quickly how and when you think in each different way. So real quick, just to pick up a couple of pieces from the beginning of this presentation. You remember that on my calendar on the top, I have those things called MITs, my most important things. Generally, those are nouns or really big verbs. Then in my calendar or off on my to-do list, that's where I've taken those MITs and identified for myself, okay, if I have an MIT to draft an article, what are the 2 or 6 15-minute tasks that I can do so that I can move through and into that MIT? And by the way, I do actually organize my work in terms of 15 minutes. People have asked me, Jason, why 15 minutes? What's the magic behind that? Well, I'll tell you the magic behind it for me. 15 minutes is long enough to matter and small enough to find. In 15 minutes of focus, I can get through anywhere from 20 to 30 pages of a book I'm reading. In 15 minutes of focus, I can write 2 to 3 thank you cards. In 15 minutes of focus, I can respond to a couple of relationship development emails where I'm really steeping and thinking in those things. Speaking of email management, and again, I know this is a presentation about getting ready for the week ahead, but if you understand the 3 kinds of email that you manage, it may make it easier to get through that week and get more done. There's 3 kinds of emails that we're all managing: transactions, relationship building emails, and crisis management. Let me give you a couple of tips about each one of these. When it comes to transactions, the kinds of questions that I get are, did you, why didn't you, when will you, how would you? And these can come from my staff, these can come from my coworkers, they can come from vendors, these can come from clients, these can come from my family. And when I'm thinking about answering transactional emails, I'm immediately going to my sent items. First thing, if someone says, did you, why didn't you, when will you, or how would you, I'm going to go over to my sent items, I'm going to scan that inventory, that database, to see if there's anything that looks, sounds, or feels like an answer that I can copy, paste, amend, change up a little bit, and then send. When it comes to relationship management, when it comes to relationship building, those kinds of emails start with things like, how are you? What's exciting to you these days? What have you learned lately? These are the kinds of conversations I'm hoping to get to when I'm face-to-face, phone-to-phone, or Skype to Skype with someone. But when it comes to email management, if someone emails me and I sense or intuit that there's relationship building that's going to happen here, two things happen immediately. Number one, I reply to the person, let them know I got their email. Hey, thank you so much. You asked me a great question. You asked me something I need to think about some more. You can expect an answer in. And then I share with them about how long that I think it's going to take, 1, 3, 5, 7 days. The second thing I do is I reply to that email. I put it over into the drafts. Okay, I've already sent them a reply. I take another reply, I move that into my drafts folder, and then that becomes my go-to place for bonus time or for when it comes to email management. All right, told you there are 3 kinds of emails that you're going to manage this week. If you move into the week understanding this, you may get more from the week. The third one is crisis management. And I'm not going to try and think of examples about that. You have your own kinds of crisis management emails that come towards you. But here's what I need you to think about. Meet them where they are and then grow from there. I need you to meet them where they are and then grow and move on and take that complaint, that frustration, and build upon it. There's 3 different ways that you can effectively communicate if there's crisis or a situation involved. The first one is auditory. And by the way, you can do this via email. If I sense that the person emailing me needs to hear what I'm saying and I can't talk to them and I can't fix it right away, in the email I will respond with things like, it sounds like, I hear you. If I need more information, I'll literally write, can you tell me about? And again, I'm doing this via email because I need to get them to explain it. The next kind of way that we communicate is visual. And in visual communication, they'll say or write things like, I can picture that. Can you show me? I see what you're talking about. And if it's crisis management that I'm trying to avoid or get through, as soon as I sense that the person across the line from me needs to be able to see something, I'll put things in more visual manner. And then, of course, the third one is kinesthetic. And when someone is kinesthetic, I'll read or hear or intuit things like them saying, that makes sense, I get it, it feels right. And again, what I'm trying to do is to meet them where they are and then grow from there. I'll give you the quick danger. The quick danger here is when someone who's of a strength or a preference that's auditory and I come back at them with a visual response. Jason, can you tell me something about your seminars? Here's a video you can watch. Jason, will you tell me how your coaching program works? Here's a brochure that you can look at. And what I found is that if I reply with those visual cues to an auditory person, it makes it really challenging for us to work together. All right, that's what I wanted to give you as you're thinking about the week ahead. I'm sure there's some more things on your mind. Text message, email, visit the website, anything that I can do to help you make your best better, please do let me know.